Hello and welcome to the agenda. I am Ajay Kaul. In this program today, we will discuss how China's 1959 definition of line of actual control has added a fresh twist to the ongoing standoff. China has fired a new salvo by saying that it does not recognize the Union territory of Ladakh. The latest provocation comes even after it has been claiming that it wants to have peace and friendly relations with India. It comes days after military commanders of the two countries reached an understanding on not escalating tensions. So, does China's latest statement reveal its real intentions behind the military aggression on the Ladakh border? We will try to analyze this in the agenda today. We have with us retired diplomat Ambassador Vishnu Prakash and retired Lieutenant General Rameshwar Roy. But before we begin our conversation, let us have a look at this small report.
While the military face-off continues at the line of actual control, China has resorted to fresh provocation by saying it does not recognize the Indian Union territory of Ladakh. The statement by Chinese Foreign Ministry came even after giving commitments that provocation would be avoided. China's reference was to its 1959 definition of line of actual control that was never accepted by India. The latest statement indicates that Chinese military aggression at the Ladakh border and in May this year was a pre-planned operation and it won't be disengaging as promised by it in the several rounds of talks held over the last 5 months. It is now clear that China's intention is to grab Indian land in Ladakh. India has categorically rejected Chinese contention and asserted that it has never accepted the so-called unilaterally defined LAC of 1959. Reacting to Chinese claim, External Affairs Ministry spokesperson Anurag Srivastav said when it comes to the position on LAC, China does not respect the agreements between the two countries that have mutually signed so far since 1993. He said the two sides had engaged in an exercise to clarify and confirm the LAC till 2003, but this process could not proceed further as Chinese side did not show any willingness to pursue it. Therefore, he said, the insistence now on the Chinese side that there is only one LAC is contrary to the solemn commitments made by China in these agreements. The MEA spokesman said, we therefore accept that the Chinese side will sincerely and faithfully abide by all agreements and understandings in their entirety and refrain from advancing any untenable unilateral interpretation of the LAC. However, it is clear that China is in a mood to escalate the situation rather than cooling tempers. Bureau Report.
Now let's welcome our guests, Lieutenant General Roy and Mr. Ambassador Vishnu Prakash. Welcome to the program, sirs. So my first question is to Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, since you have been expert on China. So what does the latest statement by the Chinese Foreign Minister mean when they say that they don't recognize Ladakh?
It means precisely what you have said, that yes, they want peace, they want friendship, but they want peace and friendship on their terms after they have quenched their thirst for Indian territory. And their definition of peace, friendship and partnership is a slight variance from the definition that the world is used to. You know, it is very clear, as we have discussed on your show earlier also, that after having damaged the relationship the way they have, it was not just to go back. They have come with an agenda. Right. They have come with a lot of preparation. And the bottom line is very simple, to alter the status quo on ground. And with them, it is no agreement means anything, no convention, no MOU means anything.
Right.
So long as they can pursue their agenda, they will employ all tactics at their command and keep on changing their stance so far as it can serve their interest.
So let me now turn to Lieutenant Roy. Lieutenant General Roy, does this mean that China is now revealing the real motive behind its aggression, which was started in May, April end or May?
Ajay, if you really ask me, China had revealed its motive right at the end of April when it came with this big preparation. It was the own agreed perception of the line of actual control of 1959. It occupied all these areas in Ladakh. We have been saying it all along. I have said it on many other platforms where the kind of preparation China had come, there was no intention whatsoever that they would ever withdraw from these occupied areas. And it was part of their strategy to solve the problem of protection to their G219 highway as well as CPAC, China Pakistan Economic Corridor, which passes through Punjera Pass. And also, they had in mind that in combination with Pakistan, they will try and occupy entire Siachen Glacier. In fact, the entire area of Ladakh and beyond. And this strategy was very, very clear. If I try to draw your attention
Yep.
towards Chinese this claim about Ladakh, which they have submitted to United Nations, there they have very clearly said that because India changed the status of Ladakh by making it a union territory, the India changed the status of the LAC by doing this.
Right.
They have not accepted this change of status of Ladakh, and they say because India has changed this status of LAC unilaterally, it is India who has done it and not the Chinese. Now, our statement coming after nearly 5 to 6 months of delay, I think we already have to some extent gone in a position of weakness. I do not know how our foreign ministry will now try to sort of validate this claim and come out clear as to how do we now convince the Chinese to go back. Because even the 5 point agreement which was made between the two foreign ministers, India's Jaishankar and Chinese foreign minister, there was no mention of status quo ante.
Right.
So they quite clearly know that whatever they have occupied, nobody is going to contest until such time India has now gone in for a mirror deployment in terms of forces. Now they are only gaining time, and with this gaining time, they are consolidating the gains they have made with full intention that they would like to enlarge these gains in times to come. And this is my reading of the whole situation. Yes.
So, Ambassador Prakash, do you agree with what Lieutenant General said?
Well, he has a viewpoint, certainly. We have made it very clear from day one that the bottom line is restoration of status quo ante. It's a different matter that China
No,
has not.
Ambassador Prakash, as he mentioned that status quo ante is not even mentioned, even in the military commanders talks, which was recently last week held.
It was, if you also see the statement of MEA and what we learned from MEA, is that it was very clearly mentioned or emphasized by the External Affairs Minister to his counterpart. In the joint press release, you have been covering foreign affairs for a very long time. You know that you have to find a language which is broadly acceptable to both sides. But in the mill-to-mill talks, and we have had 6 rounds also, our position has been very consistent that status quo ante is non-negotiable. The defense minister of the country has said so in parliament. So I don't think that there is any ambiguity whatsoever about our position. Now, China, with them, no statement, no assertion, no agreement means a thing. Let's go back a little. We have had a 1993 agreement,
Right.
1996 agreement, 2005 agreement. It was never mentioned. They are capable of raising anything at any time. Now, why do they do that? They actually believe that they are a superior power, others are subordinate powers, and they have a right because they have the mandate from heaven. They actually believe in this mandate from heaven, whatever adjective you want to give it, and therefore the earthly norms don't apply. And that is the whole problem with this country and their thinking. That, as I said in my opening remarks, they want everything on their terms. If they do something, it's a right. If the other country does it, it is wrong. So, with this kind of a one sided approach, you have to be prepared for all eventualities, and that is what India is doing. We are negotiating, we are talking, but we are talking with a leverage. And the stronger our armed forces are, the stronger the world opinion is, the better or more effective the diplomacy becomes.
As you talked, mentioned about talks that we have been talking, I'll take you back to that we have been holding SR level talks for maybe decades, maybe 2 decades, more than that. So it has reached nowhere. And in fact, I can draw your attention to Prime Minister Modi's first when he visited China in 2015. He made a proposal. Let us define LAC. It was rejected by China. So when you see whole games, I mean, it means where do we stand now?
It's to me, right?
Yeah, yes, to you, Ambassador Prakash.
Yeah. Okay, no, I have no dispute with you. No dispute whatsoever. Since 2003, when the new round of SR talks were started, other than 2005, when there was some exchange of maps about the LAC in the middle sector, there has been no movement. In fact, their position has, since 2005, hardened. And since 2013, the relationship has gone downhill. There is no doubt on that. Also, the fact is that China is one country which believes in comprehensive national power. And in their scheme of things, there is a asymmetry in the relationship. But Ajay, what I'm asking, the rhetorical question I'm posing to myself, you, and my good friend, my co-panelist is: if you do not talk, what is the result? So, talking does not mean you're lowering your guard. Talking does not mean that you're allowing them to walk over you. Talking means that you keep a possibility or an option or open, howsoever remote, to not have conflict. Conflict is nobody's interest. But we are very clear, as our leadership has said publicly, that we are prepared for every eventuality.
Right.
But talking to a friend is very easy. Talking to an adversary who is an obdurate adversary is the challenge. So, if you stop talking today, that is end of the road as far as a possibility, howsoever remote, of a peaceful outcome.
So, General Roy, as Ambassador Prakash says, that talking is very important, and I will also draw your attention to MEA statement, which says that about defining, we have been trying to find a definition on LAC, which China is not really cooperating, has not cooperated, so it reached nowhere. So, what is your response on that?
Ajay, let me bring out a larger geostrategic issue on this point. I absolutely accept this point of view of my analyst, Ambassador Vishnu Prakash, that talking is the only way out. Even if you fight thereafter, you have to come back to talking again.
Right.
Applying the same yardstick, since we have got two adversaries, China and Pakistan, we have not applied the same yardstick to Pakistan, where we have stopped talking for many years now. So why not that also should start when only negotiations can proceed? Point number one. The point number two is the larger geostrategy game plan here is that China has always felt, and it has rightly felt, that geostrategically it is placed on the world map in a manner that it cannot make an influence to the larger landmass of the West Asia, Europe, underbelly of Russia, etc. Now, it has found its way through the BRI project that it will be able to enlarge its influence to the landmass across frontiers through this project. Now, for this reason alone, it is trying to increase its influence as well as the landmass gains towards the west, going towards achievement of this goal. Now, the point here is that if we take its own feeling, that it feels that it is claustrophobic, if its route from the South China Sea and the East China Sea get blocked, which there is a possibility that with the kind of sea power which are facing China, USA, Australia, India, Japan, and many of the other countries which are in the Southeast Asia, that blockade can be done. Should that happen, its only way out is look towards the west. Now, for to secure this, it requires a very strong ally like Pakistan. And now the way it has moved itself, it is not looking at the gain or not looking at the talks only at this level. It is trying to go beyond this. It is trying to secure the interest of China-Pakistan economic corridor. It is trying to secure its the route through landmass into Arabian Sea, beyond this to West Asia and to Africa. Now, when we look at this larger plan, and then we come down to talks. Talks are either at the same level or closer to these differentials that the ambassador mentioned. Let me tell you, as a soldier, this differential that we talk of national comprehensive power, it has already gone so much beyond us that to repair this gap will take many, many decades. And whatever is being done today to strengthen the armed forces, which means Indian Army, Navy, and the Air Force, for this to be effective on the ground, that is not an issue which can happen in 1 to 2 years. This will take decades to achieve that parity. Therefore, my point here is that if we do not hold this strength now, which I think mercifully the government has realized it and we have gone in for immediate deployment, it is going to cost us hell of a lot in terms of men, material, resources, finances. At the same time, if you look at China, it is telling us not to increase the infrastructure in this area. Whereas we should not stop at this, we should continue to build infrastructure. Now our whole effort should be to stop Chinese interest at this present point and do not let them proceed even an inch beyond that. If we are able to achieve this for all times to come, I would still feel that we have been able to hold ourselves strongly against the Chinese. Talks or no talks, that is immaterial as far as I am concerned, because with talks, nothing is going to be achieved, at least in near future.
So you are suggesting that, General Roy, you are suggesting that there should be no talks, or if there are talks, it should be only after military action. Is it that?
I said I am for talks,
Yeah.
but those talks to achieve anything near future is not going to happen. All I am saying is if talks are being held with Chinese, why and should not talks be also held with Pakistan, because these are only two adversaries that we have as of now.
Right.
So let us have that kind of a understanding, because I am very certain that at one time, now or later, Chinese are going to outweigh very heavily on Pakistan, and Pakistan is going to look for some other alternative. And if that be the case, then jointly we should look at such a possibility. There is no other way of stopping the Chinese otherwise. That is what point I am making.
Okay. So, Ambassador Prakash, you heard Lieutenant General Roy. So, he says that there is disparity in India's stand while we deal with China and while we deal with Pakistan. Is that correct?
Yeah, the audio quality was not the best, so I mean I could not understand, but I've got a drift of what General Roy has mentioned.
He's basically saying, can I?
Yeah, I got a drift.
Okay,
As
okay,
I said,
yeah, please go
I mean, you will excuse me if there are some nuances I have missed, but I've got the general drift.
Yeah, please.
On the first point about China and Pakistan, I'm sure General Roy, who is a very proud soldier who is a very decorated soldier knows
He has served
that you
in
do not.
J&K also as corps commander.
I am acknowledging that and that celebrating that even before you
Yeah.
mentioned that
Thank you.
it's not a cookie cutter approach. It's not one size that fits all. I hope no country in the world comes to a stage when says, well, two and two is a four, or there is black and white. We all know that there are shades of gray. You handle every country according to merits, deal with every country according to merits. And that is what we are doing. Well, whether we are right or wrong, I do not know, but that is the considered opinion of the country. Now, I do not have a crystal ball as clear as General Roy to predict what is going to happen. All I know is that it's a process. See, diplomacy is an optimistic profession, and you try to do what you need to do to avert a situation or achieve an objective while preparing for plan A, B, C, D. That is what we are doing, and there is unity of purpose in the country. Every organ of the government, every arm of the government is working in tandem. Now, also let us understand, or let me underline the fact, having served in China and having been following this country and region for at least 20 years, that you are dealing with an unpredictable and irrational power.
Right.
Rationality is not the forte of this country. Otherwise, which country will pick up simultaneous fights with practically all its neighbors? Which country will take on the US even before they are ready? So, in the very opening remarks, I did acknowledge and mention that there is a game plan. China wants to create a China-centric world order. They are not. They do not understand equality. They have a low opinion about the democratic processes that we follow. Well, that is their outlook.
Right.
We will play to our strengths. The very fact that there is an asymmetry and it will take 20 years or 15 years or 10 years or 5 to hopefully raise or lessen does not mean that we. So we are doing what we are doing, and let me last comment about the global position or global outlook.
Right.
We are fortunate in that a number of countries, and there are a handful of countries, but important, powerful countries, and I'll name them: USA, France, Australia, Japan, and now Germany, essentially, have come out clearly opposing Chinese expansionism and Chinese bullying and unilateralism. But the fact also remains that an overwhelming majority of countries are loath to take sides. Either they believe that they will not come to harm, or they're just hedging. So there are certain ground realities. We have, I think, factored in all that in planning our position, and time will tell if the conflict is thrust upon us. Our armed forces will not be found wanting, as we have seen. But again, I have said it before, and I would like to say it again. There is a demand of geography. If there was a possibility, I would have uprooted China from where it is in this geography and planted it somewhere in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. But one cannot.
Right.
And so we will have to deal with China as it comes. We will have to try and find a modus vivendi if we can. If not, well, we are no pushover.
Right, very good perspective, and our time is running out. One last question to General Roy. You heard about what Ambassador Prakash said, and I will also add that Air Chief Marshal also yesterday said that we are in a no war, no peace situation. So what does that mean?
Ajay, I'm not a trained diplomat in any way, and I give all respect to my co-colleagues who have served as also ambassador in China. And therefore, I'm not very articulate as my words are concerned. But as a soldier, I know one thing: when diplomacy fails, a soldier is always there to make sure that interest of the country is not lost. And for that reason alone, I would say that I appreciate the kind of mirror deployment that we have gone in for. I appreciate that now at least we are clear that we have to be holding on to Chinese this interest that has taken place, and we now believe that let us accept this fact which we have for many years ignored, that China is going to be our main adversary. Once we accept that, obviously no enemy will be predictable. Unpredictability, in unpredictability lies the victory of our adversary. But then we have to cater for absorbing that unpredictability, and we have to make sure that we are not surprised. In this particular case, I would openly say that we have been surprised. We got slightly, I would say, because of this pandemic and all that situation which have been going on, we were not very sure that somebody will do such a thing as this. And when it did, our reactions to lack of infrastructure was not as strong as it could have been. Now that we have built up, now that reality has been accepted by us, this statement of Tuesday, both the nations, realities are being accepted. I am very certain now that we are up to it, but yes, the focus must not shift. Let us understand that national comprehensive power cannot be built over years, it is built over decades, and our effort must be on that. And that alone will salvage us from this situation and also any pitfalls, any surprises in the future. And that's the way it is. Definitely, armed forces are there, we are there from day one to day last, is the last drop of blood, as we have always shown that we will not back off. In 62, we were able to face them when we literally had nothing.
Right.
Today, we are in a much better position.
Right.
But the fact of the matter is, the focus should not be lost, as is my fear that over the years, as the talks go into a routine, like has been the case with the border talks, this issue also will go into freeze. That is the point I'm trying to make, because as it is, soldiers are now at freezing heights of -30 during winters, and I don't want this issue to remain frozen during summers and beyond all times to come. That's my point I'm trying to make.
Right. Before we close, I think Mr. Prakash wants to say something briefly.
29 seconds. First of all, General Roy mentioned about being surprised. I think this is a debate that we should leave for later. There is a lot to be said, done, and inquired into that. But the only point I would like to make directly to General Roy, addressing you, sir, that please appreciate that Indian diplomacy is as effective as Indian armed forces. The reason we can act with confidence is we know that we have one of the finest armed forces in the world. So it is your valor that enables the diplomacy to be effective. I don't want to say anything more.
So diplomacy and army's valor will come handy in dealing with China. Thank you both of you for participating in this debate.
Thank you, Ajay.
Thank
you very much.
This is all in the agenda today. Thanks for watching. I'll be back with another important topic tomorrow. Till then, goodbye.